In the heart of Maharashtra, nestled amidst lush greenery and a strong sense of community, lay the village of Sharampur. It was a place where life moved at its own pace, untouched by the clamor and chaos of the city. The residents of the village were known for their warm hospitality and resilience, having weathered the storms of life together, sharing both laughter and sorrow. But today, we're going to focus on a man named Eknath, a simple laborer who lived on the outskirts of the village with his wife Sharda and their son Raju. He knew it wasn't safe, but before he could stop Raju, he had already fallen and hurt himself. It was his habit to save money for Raju's future, hoping that someday it would be enough for his son's eye operation. You see, Raju was born without one eye, and Eknath wanted him to have the chance to see the world the way he did. As the years passed, Raju finished his schooling and went to pursue engineering in a town 20 kilometers from their village. Raju didn't want his father near him, rented a house with some of his friends, and never invited Eknath to visit. Whenever his friends asked about his father, Raju would lie and say he didn't know where he worked or even what he looked like. They waited for their son to come visit, but he only called occasionally to ask for money. They started chatting, and Eknath learned that Raju still lived in the same town, now working in a private company. Before he could react, Eknath stepped inside and collapsed on the floor. But no one felt the pain more than Sharda and Raju. They both loved Eknath dearly and missed him every day. Raju, please calm down. She sat down next to Raju and began to share memories of the past. She told him about the day he almost lost his eye while playing, and how his father had rushed to the hospital and begged the doctors to save his son. She explained that the doctors had told them there was only one way to save Raju's eye, and that was to perform an operation where someone had to donate an eye. He took his mother home and cared for her with love and respect, making sure she never felt alone or helpless again. If you enjoyed this emotional roller coaster of a story, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. And if you're as invested in these stories as we are, consider subscribing for more captivating tales. Thanks for joining us. See you next time. He understood now that his father's actions had not been a burden, but a testament to the purest form of love. Raju vowed to honor his father's memory by becoming a better person himself, spreading kindness and compassion to all those around him. He knew his journey towards redemption had just begun, but he was determined to make his father proud. But we couldn't find anyone willing to donate an eye, and time was running out. Then your father stepped forward. He said he didn't care if he went blind, he just wanted his son to see the world, she said, her voice trembling with emotion. Your father loved you so much he gave up his own eyes so you could see, she said softly, hoping to reach her son. But Raju just laughed and shook his head. What are you talking about? Why would he do that? He asked, confused by his mother's words. Seeing his father on the floor, Raju panicked and immediately called an ambulance. As Eknath lay in the hospital bed, Raju visited him. He'd never known his father to be so selfless and caring. He felt remorse for not appreciating his father, anger for the years he wasted, and most of all, love for the man who had sacrificed everything for him. It was as if a veil had been lifted from his eyes, allowing him to see the truth of his father's character. Why didn't he tell me this before? Why did he keep it a secret? He whispered, tears streaming down his face. Sharda hugged her son tightly. Because he didn't want you to feel ashamed of him. He loved you too much for that, she said softly. For the first time in years, he looked at his father with admiration and respect. Dad, I'm sorry for how I treated you. Please forgive me, he said, tears streaming down his face. But Eknath, too weak to respond, just looked at his son and closed his eyes. Suddenly, Eknath felt a surge of hope. Maybe his son had finally become successful and was ready to accept him. Without wasting a moment, Eknath took a bike to Raju's house. She hoped that now that they were alone, Raju would finally listen to her and become a better person. But her hopes were shattered when Raju came to visit. Instead of consoling his mother, he started yelling at her, demanding to know why his father had been so secretive all those years. Why didn't he ever tell me about his past? Why did he hide it from me? He shouted, his voice echoing through the empty halls. When he graduated, Eknath and Sharda saved up enough money to buy a house of their own. It was small, but it was theirs. Finally, they had a place where they could live with dignity, without relying on their son. All I know is that he's a farmer, Raju would say, trying to hide his shame. Eknath and Sharda were overjoyed that their son had such bright dreams. And even though they didn't understand much about engineering, they knew it was important to their son. Even though Sharda pleaded with her husband to use the money for his own eye operation, he refused. His love for his son was stronger than his desire to see. Before leaving, he called his parents and asked them to come live with him. At first, Eknath and Sharda thought Raju was finally accepting them, but it turned out he just wanted them to move in, so he could take care of their expenses. When they arrived at the city, Raju showed them his apartment and told them to start living there. "It's not far from my office, so it's convenient for me," he said, but he never came to visit. When Eknath rushed to Raju's side, he was furious. But Eknath woke up early that day, and he wanted to give his son a homemade tiffin, so he got up and went to Raju's school. When Raju saw his father approaching him, he felt a mix of shame and anger. He yelled at Eknath to stay away from him.
Ow.
And when Eknath tried to hand him the tiffin, Raju pushed it away. "Don't ever come near my school again," he shouted, tears streaming down his face. Eknath was deeply hurt by his son's words, but he knew Raju needed space. So he nodded and walked away without saying a word. He scolded Raju for playing such a dangerous game and told him to go home. But Raju, feeling ashamed and angry, shouted at his father, "I hate you. I wish you were dead." Eknath was heartbroken. Couldn't believe his own son would speak to him in such a disrespectful manner. Their modest hut was a testament to their humble lifestyle, yet it was filled with warmth and love that radiated from its inhabitants. Neth was not like everyone else in the village. He had a condition that made him look different from others. He was one-eyed and had a crooked arm and leg. This made him look a bit scary. And many people in the village used to point fingers at him and talk behind his back. But Eknath didn't let this get him down. He worked hard as a laborer, saving every rupee he earned for his son's future. Speaking of their son, Raju was a bright and inquisitive child. He loved going to school and learning new things. But he also struggled with accepting his father the way he was. Whenever Raju played with other children, they would often tease him about his father's appearance. "Your dad looks like a monster," they would say, and Raju would run home crying. When he told his father about what happened, Eknath would just hug him and tell him not to worry. But as Raju grew older, he started resenting his father for being different. One day, Raju was playing a dangerous game with his friends, and Eknath saw him from afar. That night, as usual, Eknath put a rupee into a piggy bank. The next morning, Raju purposely left for school early, hoping his father wouldn't come to see him off. From that day on, Eknath stopped visiting Raju's school, but he never missed his son's parent-teacher meetings. When Raju left for the city, Eknath found a job as a watchman in the same town, hoping to be close to his son. After finishing his degree, Raju got a job in Mumbai and moved there. Years passed, and Eknath and Sharda grew old in that apartment. One day, Eknath was taking a walk in the park when he bumped into one of Raju's old friends, Suresh. When Raju opened the door and saw his father standing there, he was shocked. A few days later, Eknath passed away. News of his death spread throughout the village, and everyone was saddened to hear it. After Eknath's funeral, Sharda returned to the house she shared with her son. Sharda was taken aback by her son's sudden outburst. She couldn't believe he would treat her this way after everything she had done for him. Sensing an opportunity to finally make her son understand the depth of his father's love, Sharda decided to tell him everything. Ouch. Couldn't believe what his mother was telling him. As she shared these stories, Raju felt a wave of emotions wash over him. From that day on, Raju never forgot the sacrifices his father had made for him. And that, dear friends, is the tale of Eknath, a tale of sacrifice, love, and redemption.